one of the biggest things when it comes to ground marketing, and Sean, you're going to realize this just in general in life, is sometimes we lack the discipline to discipline our thoughts. And so that's what we need to sharpen, disciplining our thoughts, because thoughts will feed an emotion, energy in motion, right? It will just feed an emotion. And then you're just starting to feel like the adrenaline, and you're riding that adrenaline feeling of flight or fight, and you'll pick flight, right? You're not going to really pick like fight and, oh, I'm going to go do this. You're just going to
self-preservation and protection.
And you're going to go back to the practice and say like, hey, that didn't work. And then you're going to think to yourself like, well, why didn't it work? Well, I know they're going to say no. And now we're putting assumptions, right? And you're just feeding that thought from the very beginning, all because you lack the discipline to discipline that thought, right?
Hey guys, welcome to the Sean Sias Show. We bring you strategies and stories to elevate your authentic influence.
Okay, so today I could not be more excited to be with Michael Arias. I think I got it right there, with The Dental Marketer. And before I set you up, Michael, I just want to say, hey, thank you so much for letting me interview you today.
No, man, thank you for allowing me to be on here. And it's awesome, man. I appreciate you so much. You do a lot. So I was like, yeah, man, let's make it happen.
I have been observing you from afar for a long time because I feel like you are just one of the best podcasters. It's not just that you have a great studio and a great setup. You just do such a great job and you're so consistent with it. I feel like you're just so generous in the way that you give into dentistry. And I've seen that. So I just want to honor you with that.
I appreciate that, man. No, thank you. Yeah, honestly, like that's one of a lot of people know me because of ground marketing, but that little sliver that I love the most is the podcasting, like the talking, the conversations, having crucial conversations, you know? So, yeah.
So what fascinates me is like two different things. One has to do with like, why is it that people decide to bet on themselves to innovate, to pioneer, to do something that is a dream of their heart, and yet they give themselves permission to. And the other thing is, as we're kind of pursuing a vocation and figuring out what it is we like, what it is that lights us up, along the way, we move from like modeling to all of a sudden discovering more of like, well, this is me. This is my superpower. This is my gifting. And trying to align what we're doing with that. And I'm imagining part of that is how you discovered podcasting, because you realize, wow, like I'm great at marketing. I know how to teach people how to do ground marketing, but there's more. So that's where I would love to hear a little bit about your origin story of kind of how you came to occupy the space that you're in right now.
Yeah. So when it came to podcasting, it was a little bit different. So what it's like super you know what I mean? Like, wow, it's more just like this guy's lazy. But so what happened was I was ground marketing for a practice, and little by little, you know, they started seeing results and things like that. Then another practice, maybe like 15 minutes down the street, they're like, let me hire you too. And I was like, sure, let's do it. Then their friend in Anaheim. And if you're in California, Los Angeles, you'll know like LA from Anaheim is different. Inland Empire, Rancho Cucamonga to like Newport it's not close, right? Looks close on the map, but it's not that close. And I was new to California. So I'm like, yeah, let's make it happen. I can work for that practice, all by myself. And nope, couldn't, right? I was like just spending all my time driving. And so I decided to go back and just work for that one practice that I initially was working for and make a blog on like, hey, this is how you're going to get into Costco and get the employees to come in. This is how you're going to get into Target or Starbucks or whatever, right? Or school districts, and talk to the children and get the teachers, participate in the teachers health fair events, right? And benefits fair. And I got lazy and tired of typing. So I was like, all right, man, let me just talk about it then, right? So I created a podcast. And at that time, Sean, I thought I was like the only one, you know what I mean? Talking about this stuff. But no, Gary Tackix was on, Alan Mead back then when Dental Hacks was doing it, Dentalpreneur, and then David Maloli. And so, yeah, when I kind of came out, I just started doing my own strategies, letting people know like, hey guys, this is how you're going to get into LA Fitness, right? And participate in their monthly events. And then I thought about it and I was like, ground marketing isn't the only and everything of all marketing. There has to be other things that people are doing. There's other practices that I see on social media or Dental Town at, at the time that are killing it. So I was like, what are they doing? So I would ask them like, hey, can you come on and just talk? Let me know what you're doing. And so that's what it was. It was just me being nosy, like, let me know what you're doing. Like, how are you doing this, right? And uh, growing up, I used to always hate well, oh, we're just doing this, or we're just doing like, a lot of digital marketing, or we're just, if you were to ask like, hey, what can I work on? And they tell you like, oh, just keep doing what you're doing. You're doing great. Just keep doing what you're doing. I hated that. So I'm like, no, let's get like super specific. Like, what is the doing that you're doing? Break it down to me in instructions and steps. I mean, a third grader should be able to look at it and be like, I think we can make this happen, kind of a thing, right? And so, yeah, man, that's what happened. I started just asking really nosy questions like that, and it grew, and here we are today.
So take me back before you're walking up to practices and saying, "Hey, I can work with you. I can work with you." What got you to even identify practices? Because it sounds like you already had this sense of I'm capable and I know ground marketing. This is something I'm qualified in. What was your background?
So interesting, man. Like I was a nutritionist at the time in Newport. Yeah, yeah. So different, but maybe you might have heard of this company before. They're not in business anymore, but it's called My Fit Foods, and they were on 17th Street in Newport. And then they started off in Sugarland, Texas, though, Houston area. And so when I came out, because I'm from Texas, and we came out here. That was from
Which part
the
of Texas?
Houston Sugarland.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, Houston area. And so whenever we came out here, I was familiar with the company. I started working for them. I was a nutritionist for them. And the way they marketed was they did a lot of that, people to people, going out, right? They had the food, they just give it out or talk to gyms, nutritionists, and things like that. And one of my clients was a dental consultant too at the same time. And we would talk a little bit. And then he also was a coach in one of the practices that I worked in. And it was interesting. Like he was just like, hey man, whatever you're making there or here, I'll give you like $2,000 if you can bring in these many new patients within the month. And I was like, oh my god, yeah, I'll definitely make it happen. You know what I mean? So I gathered as many like sick days as I could, and I was like, hey guys, like I'm just not gonna be here. Y'all know that, right? I'm not sick. And then they're like, yeah, yeah, it's totally cool. So I left, and man, I felt so many times. I can't tell you. Like I was going into a place, and I was like, "Hey, we're the new practice down the street." Blah blah blah. Nope. Hey, we would like to introduce ourselves. Nope. I mean, like it worked. They say like, yeah, drop off information, but that was it. And I realized I would come back every time to the practice thinking like that went great, but that feeling, like hope, it doesn't pay the bills, right? So I was more like, I need actionable results. I need names and numbers. I need cheeks in seats, right? That's what I need right now. So then I went and I was like, how can I get names and numbers in this moment? And so yeah, it takes a lot more preparation beforehand, knowing the strategy and the scripts, and then boom, executing when you go into the businesses, the locations, and everything like that. So other practices heard about that. Just hey, there's this guy who can bring in you in like 10, 15 new patients right now, right? Kind of a thing. And I was like, yeah, I could. And it wasn't like a gimmick or anything. I wasn't like, yeah, I can give you 20. Like you hear it now, right? A ton. I can give you 20 new patients in like the next 3 weeks. No, I was just more like, yeah, I can try. Let's see what happens. You can literally see me in an event if you're like on your lunch break and see what I'm doing, right? And nothing was hidden. Still, nothing is hidden or anything like that. But yeah, man, that's how it kind of happened.
Okay, so do you, I mean, this might be a word that's loaded, but do you identify yourself kind of like a hustler, like that you have that ability to hustle?
No, I never thought of it that way. I just thought of it like like I'm desperate. Like I'm in desperation mode right now. Like the practice is, they would tell me like, hey, if you can't bring us this many, and maybe it's not the healthiest thing, but if you can't bring us like this many new patients, or if you can't bring in good quality or whatever, right? Um, then you're gonna lose your job. right? And at the same time, we're all struggling. Like we're not even breaking even, kind of a thing. So I was more like, oh my god, I got to make this happen. I have to get these people in. Like it's not a. That's why I was telling you like the feeling of coming back was nice. Like hey, everybody was like happy with us. They accepted it, but that didn't convert into actionable results immediately. So yeah,
Because from my perspective, it's pretty remarkable that you had no problem doing almost like cold sales, like
yeah.
walking up to establishments that and soliciting and doing that on behalf of a practice. I'm just saying, like, some people have a fear of public speaking. I don't. I have a
Mhm.
fear of soliciting. Like, go, I had to go into practices early on to tell them about one of my products like 7-8 years ago, and it was a few weeks, and it's like I just completely dreaded it. Like I didn't. There was no part of me that enjoyed it, and yet like, how would you rate that? Was that something where, I don't know, it wasn't really that big of a deal and you realized like, yeah, you were actually pretty good at it? Because it seems like you excelled.
Um, I would say like I still make tons of mistakes, but I made a ton of mistakes, and I think how do I put it? Like it just felt it didn't come naturally to me. You know what I mean? Like I would get up to let's just say I would pull up to I don't know, like a bank, a Chase Bank or a Wells Fargo, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, like I can't do this. I don't know why I'm here. You know what I mean? And you psych yourself out. I can't tell you how many times you psych yourself out, especially when it's 3 p.m. and you're like, oh my god, the lull of the day is hitting. Right? You're starting to psych yourself out. And I remember reading a book called The 5 Second Rule by Mel Robbins, and she talks about how if after 5 seconds you don't do this thing, you've officially psyched yourself out. I mean, like it's just so you got to count 1, 2, 3. So after that, I would always say like 1, 2, and then get out. 1, 2, and then get out. Like I wouldn't if I just took the time to think about it, even to tell myself like, hey, let me sit here in the car and think about what I'm gonna say. That was too much because then I start thinking about what I'm gonna say, and I'm like, what if that doesn't work? What if this doesn't work? And then you psych yourself out. So I kind of came to realize one of the biggest things when it comes to ground marketing, and Sean, you're going to realize this just in general in life, is sometimes we lack the discipline to discipline our thoughts. And so that's what we need to sharpen, disciplining our thoughts, because thoughts will feed an emotion, energy in motion, right? It will just feed an emotion. And then you're just starting to feel like the adrenaline, and you're riding that adrenaline feeling of flight or fight, and you'll pick flight, right? You're not going to really pick like fight and, oh, I'm going to go do this. You're just going to,
Self-preservation and protection.
and you're going to go back to the practice and say, like, hey, that didn't work. And then you're going to think to yourself, like, well, why didn't it work? Well, I know they're going to say no. And now we're putting assumptions, right? And you're just feeding that thought from the very beginning, all because you lack the discipline to discipline that thought, right? And so that's what you kind of realize a lot with ground marketing. It's nothing special, really. It's just like you going out and talking to people. We talk to people all the time. It's just the only difference is sometimes we are interrupting them, right? And that's what people think ground marketing is. Or sometimes we're contributing. And so that's what you're going to be doing with ground marketing. You're just contributing to the factor, right? In the most casual way, but you're contributing. You're not interrupting. And we always think we're interrupting their day, and then that's it. But yeah, that's basically it.
I feel like I just paid for a session for like, I don't know if it'd be like therapy, consulting, or coaching. Probably all three of them combined because
Yeah.
anyone that knows me knows like my dad is a naturally great salesman. And my mom would always say, Sean, like you're the greatest salesman we know. You can sell us on anything you believe in. And like the caveat with that is that I know it's something good that would be good for them that I don't benefit from. But the second, like it was a self-interest where it's like I'm representing something where I get paid. It was this weird wires got crossed. And again, I would overthink and I would stall and I'd be like, well, maybe who knows? But it's been like a 15-year journey of me having to figure out how to discipline my thoughts. Exactly what you said, Michael, except it didn't come to me that quickly. like
Yeah.
like you overcame, you got thrust in, and at some point, I don't know if it was a few months, a few weeks, you just figured it out and overcame. I got owned. And then I went to the sideline and I was like, I don't want to do that again. That was terrible.
Yeah.
um, so I like honor you like 100% for being able to not just survive, but thrive in that environment. Now, do you come from like entrepreneurial parents? Like, is this something that was partly modeled for you in childhood where you're like, yeah, my parents are just, they're go-getters, they're really, really good at handling the unknown.
Yeah. Not really. Like from what I can think of, like we didn't grow up from much, right? Just like probably many when they, were going through the recession, depression kind of thing. Um, my dad was a butcher. He worked for Kmart when Kmart was like popping, right? And then Kmart went out of business, and then so he lost his job and was scrambling for a bit. And my mom was always like a lunch lady, right? Like a cafeteria person, but she was like or she is. She's like the definition of kindness, loving, right? And my dad's the definition of grit. Like, oh man, like this is happening. Work, right? Work, always work, kind of a thing, right? And so I don't know if I ever modeled anything from that. Like, oh yeah, I gotta work because they always tell me to work. I just didn't like the feeling of work being first always, right?
Mm.
And I wanted to enjoy what I was doing. I hated, like, we've all had jobs like that, right? Where they're jobs, and we've all had it where it's like, oh, I hate it. I have this gut feeling I got to get up Monday or Saturday or whatever and do this kind of thing, right? And so instead of, I guess like living there, I always try to run away from that feeling. You know what I mean? As far as I can, to be like, oh, I hate doing this kind of a thing, right? And if I hated doing something or I didn't like doing something, I'd kind of just reevaluate and think to myself, like, why do I hate doing this? Why do I not like doing this? Is it because it's making me uncomfortable? Is it because it's change, right? I mean, a lot of people don't like change, but that's change, Sean, is like it's learning, right? Learning is change. That's it. If not, you're just having knowledge in your head. That's it. And you can continue to intake knowledge and knowledge, knowledge, but how will you know you learned something, right? If you're fixing an air conditioner and you watch it on YouTube, how to fix an air conditioner or HVAC system, right? And you're learning. I mean, you're intaking knowledge, but you know you've learned it once you're able to go and implement the knowledge that you've done, right? And so sometimes people are like, I don't like change, but I like to learn. No, that just means you like knowledge, right? But if you're like, I like learning and I can embrace change, then yeah, you probably like learning. So if you're learning all the time, you're changing all the time. And so that's the great thing. And so that's what I think I kind of started to enjoy more and more and more. It's like not just running away from that feeling, but also at the same time, I gotta keep learning from mistakes, learning from other people, learning from experiences, all these things. And little by little, you start changing.
Now, I love that. Like, for the longest time, I talk about how I would hang out in the land of theory,
Mhm.
and which is again, you're accumulating information, you're amassing it, but until it actually interfaces with the marketplace, you don't really learn exactly what you were saying. Like it brilliantly put. Now, was that something you came upon because you had that tendency, maybe toward just getting information and applying it was something that there was more resistance toward, or have you always been someone with a bias toward action?
Mm, I would say I've always executed. Like I've always liked action. Um, Not always, always, but like you know, I don't know. I never thought about that to be honest with you. But I like results, right? Like if you're in the gym, you like seeing results, right? Maybe the first week you're like, what the heck? I don't see results, right? Then the first month, somebody else may see like, hey, you're kind of losing a little bit of weight there, right? Third month, you're like, okay, now I can start seeing results. But that takes consistency, right? That takes delayed gratification. That takes grit. That takes perseverance. All that in the gym, right? So it takes a lot of work. But once you start seeing the results, all you care about is the results, right? You're like, man, these are nice. I like these results. It pays off. Totally worth it. Don't even care about like that I have to get up at 6 a.m. or 5 a.m. or 4 a.m. to do this. I'm already used to it, kind of a thing. Because you've done that. And I think that's the thing with ground marketing, with the gym, with eating right, all these things is you're going to continue to make mistakes, but practice it. Practice doesn't make perfect. Practice makes permanent. So if you can continue to do that and know like, yeah, we're going to relapse, we're going to have mistakes, but I'm going to try to make this permanent. I'm going to continue to go to this business. I'm going to continue to ground market. I'm going to continue to go to the gym. You're now creating not just consistency and compounding it, but permanency.
And it's funny you just said consistency, because that's exactly the word I was thinking. It's like, it's a great word that describes you, because in all areas of your life, it seems like you have this consistent core. Like, you've been podcasting now, what, 8, 9, 10 years?
I don't even know. I haven't.
Yeah,
Maybe
because I
like,
mean, you were one of those original 5 that was doing it in the industry before. I mean,
yeah.
right
I'm sure
now
there
there's
was like
probably like
other,
500.
yeah. I'm sure there was other ones doing it, but at the moment, that's who I like would see, right? And I'm like, okay, let me get them on, right? But yeah,
And that thing, like, and it almost seems paradoxical to be like, yeah, change, learning, growth, but at the same exact time, consistency. It's like, yeah, but if you really want to make a difference, you're not going to get gains from having a season in the gym for 3 months and then you're done. You're
hmm
not going to be healthy having a season of eating healthy for 3 months and then being done. It's lifestyle. And it seems like you're orienting yourself of like, hey, where do I find the most life? Like, I don't like doing this, so I challenge it. Why don't I like it? Do I need to grow in that area, or can I just outsource that because I'm not finding joy in it? It seems like you said, like, you almost stumbled into podcasting in the sense of, hmm, I'm a good communicator, it seems like, but I'd rather talk about it than have to write it. And instantly, did you get that kind of reward where the market kind of said, "Hey, Michael, you're good at this." Like, when did you realize it was something that you could stick to and incorporate into kind of your own your own marketing?
when it came to ground marketing, so I don't know if you know this, but that's the term I coined, right? Ground marketing.
I was
Like
gonna say, I'd never heard it before.
yeah, a lot of people. I remember in Facebook groups like, "What the heck is ground marketing?" and all these things, and I'm like, "Well, it's a more sophisticated way of guerrilla marketing. It's if you want to build the strongest connection with people in your community and not just attract new patients, because you will immediately attract new patients, but it's building the strongest connection. So it's like with the strategy, right? Meaning, you walk into so you can either walk into an apartment complex and say, "Hey, we're the new dentist down the street. Here's some donuts, whatever," right? And then boom, or walk into a medical practice and say that we're just right down the street. Or you can have a strategy. For example, the medical practice, right? You can just walk in, nothing in your hand, casual as ever, as if you're like walking back from lunch, and then just walk in and say, "Hey, could I have some of your information?" They're gonna be like, "Yeah, do you have an appointment? What do you want? What do you need our information for?" "Oh, I want the dental office like right down the street from you guys. And a lot of our patients ask about whatever they're doing, right? And we just wanted to have your information on hand so we can give it to them if that's okay." They're gonna be ecstatic. They're gonna be like, "Oh, heck yeah, let me get you a folder and everything. Did you want to speak to the doctor right now?" They're available. They're gonna be available in 10 minutes, right? They're gonna be ecstatic about that. And then from that point on, you listen to them, you talk to them, you hear them, right? And then once you get their information, you can just say, "Oh, by any chance, could we give you guys some of our information as well?" 1,000%. Nobody in the history of history has ever been like, "No, just take my stuff." Right? They're going to be like, "Yeah, definitely bring back some of your stuff." You go to the car, you get some of your stuff and a sign up sheet from 1 to 10, name, number, text or call, right? They can either circle whatever. You can have an incentive if you want on top. You don't have to if you don't want to. A lot of times we do, right? And so we tell them, "Oh, here's some of our information." At the same time, what I wanted to do just for the employees here, only for you guys, is we wanted to give you, boom, this incentive, right? Free whitening, or we have priority appointments or whatever, right? This new patient special, anything like that. And then they're like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, thank you so much. When's a good time to come back and pick it up?" Now you have a second date, right? "Oh, you know what? You can come back next week on Monday. Everybody will have seen it, blah, blah." Cool. You come back, pick up the sign up sheet. You'll have new patients right there waiting to come in. That's the employees. But now you're building a relationship with that referral partner, right? So that's what ground marketing is. So it's not, "Here's donuts. and treats. And, I hope you guys come and see us, right? And then they're like, thank you so much. Here's some referral pads. That feels good, but it doesn't get the job done, right? You want the job done as quickly as possible. So you want to do ground marketing. And that's what we kind of started, or that's what we did. And the way I guess I knew it was like good is, well, people would want to hire it, right? To either fly me out or a coach or consultant, but you get spread so thin. So I created a course, and yeah, the course it's still out till today, right? We continue to add to it every single day, more strategies and stuff. But and that it validated to us like, oh yeah, people need this, right? Kind of a thing. So with ground marketing, that's what it was.
It's pretty amazing that you coined a term like that. Like, it really does seem like the convergence of what I would know about guerrilla marketing and kind of like community based marketing. And yet it's just appropriately named that. And yet it's so masterful, the approach that you've come up with. And it actually delivers results where dentists need results. I don't feel like dentists always appreciate some of the nuances of business, because oftentimes, because there's such a need out there, you don't have to run a dental practice like a first-rate company in order to be successful. And I think a lot of dentists, maybe in the first 5, 10 years, sometimes get the wrong conclusion, where it's like, oh, I must be really great at this because I can have a profitable business. And it's like, well, you just don't know what you don't know. But try a restaurant and try to start that and run it as reckless as a dental practice. It's not going to survive more than a year, because it's such a competitive marketplace. You know,
Mm-hmm.
consumers of a restaurant, man, one mistake, they're not coming back. Um, and that's why I think like over like 93% of them close in the first year, because
Yeah.
it's just super competitive. And I'm saying this as a backdrop to a lot of what would be really good for dentists. They don't always have a grid for figuring out, like, why would I invest today in order to get that? Technology makes sense to them, but new patients, that's like the metric that's the most obvious to them. Like, if I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
spend money and I will actually get results in 30 days, in 45 days, whatever, then 100% they'll pay for that. Um, do you feel like you have to educate, like, what are you continually feeling like maybe you need to educate dentists on, that they maybe aren't aware of, in order to work with you?
Um, I guess when it comes to ground marketing, um, what I need to educate on is like what ground marketing really is, right? That's one thing. But other than that is, yeah, it's going to require like you not to be lazy, just sitting there, right? And hoping new patients just kind of come in, right? So a lot of that is like, yeah, you pay marketing companies for, and remember, ground marketing is an aspect of your marketing strategy. It's not the main thing for everything, and then that's it, right? Don't do anything else. So if you're doing like social media and you're doing Google ads and stuff like that, then yeah, you can obviously sit there and wait for those results, right? But if you're like, hey, nothing's happening, ground market, right? If you have a last minute cancellation or no appointments or no shows, that's why it works fantastic for like startups who are just like, I have time right now. I don't have the money or resources, but I have the time. Then boom, ground market, right? I would say never stop ground marketing. You can eventually delegate that to somebody like a team member, because it just continues to build strong connections. So that's the thing is a lot of the times is we think we need to be ground marketing as a practice owner or dentist. And although in some major events, yeah, it's good for the actual practice owner, the dentist to be there because I mean, you'll see conversions 3x, right? Like it's way better. But if not, you need to learn or somebody else needs to be doing it in your team at least like once a week. I mean, there's events happening every day in your community, depending on how big or how small the your community is, your location is where you're at, right? So there's ribbon cuttings, there's chamber of commerce events, there's teachers benefits, there's school events, there's senior homes events, there's events you can create on your own. There's lunch and learns in companies like Stater Brothers, Target, Costco, all these things. Like there's so many things where you can either set up a booth, talk to the employees, do a presentation, all these things, right? And it's as easy as just, hey, what questions or concerns do you guys have? And then boom, that starts the snowball effect. And then people are just asking questions. So you don't have to go into a senior home and say, like, I'm going to talk about implants and dentures today. You can just answer questions. And that's all they want, is just to be listened to talk, and then at the same time to get answers. And then once you get the answer, once you give them the answers, it's easy breezy. They're there for life, right? And then you can get the employees from the senior homes to come on in and so much more. So yeah, it's going to be too busy for the dentist, right? For the practice owner. So they would need to delegate that.
I think it's amazing that you niche down right away. Like, as you know, as an agency, it's like, yeah, we can do everything under the sun. But to know that you decided to double down on something that you felt like you had a competitive advantage on, it's almost like what I tell dental practices. It's like, if you discover what's unique about the way you practice, your perspective, your unique brand, that's the best way to form, you know, just kind of the culture even around the practice, because it's based on you. It's based on your unique competitive advantage. It becomes that moat that protects you from just being a commoditized service. And it's like, there's a lot of different marketing companies, Michael, but you know exactly what you do, what you can do better than everyone else. It's your own term. I mean, come on. You're better at ground marketing than any other agency because you came up with it. I just think that's brilliant. So it's like, how far back do we have to go? 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Like, when would you have been completely shocked because this was not even in your mind? And you had no clue. Fast forward how many years, and here you are running a successful dental marketing agency, podcasting, being known and being trusted in this space, which I would say dentistry is a pretty interesting industry. It's pretty unique.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's super unique. I'm still shocked, to be honest with you. I don't think I know it all or anything like that, especially even with ground marketing, right? Like, there's still new strategies we like to do. And this is how I know I still like to do it, because I still go out and do it. You know what I mean? Just to be like, is it going to work? Let's try it. You know what I mean? With our team. And I wouldn't even say we're like an agency, because it's just, I would say we're more like a teaching firm. We teach, right, their employees or whoever how to do this, and they can continue to do it on their own. And, you know, they can just reach out to us whenever they want. We like to give them the cookbook, right? So consultants have a recipe, but masters have a cookbook. So we like to give them the cookbook and be like, here, man, whatever you want to do, you can make it happen, right? And then just kind of guide them through that process. With the podcasting, though, I really didn't expect that. Like, I remember thinking, Sean, and maybe you've experienced this, like when you put out the first like 2 to 5 episodes, and maybe you edited it on your own, right? You didn't have editors at that time. And I'm thinking, like, why does my voice sound so high? Like, is that how it really sounds? I'm trying to edit it lower and trying to cut out all the ums and all these things. And then I kind of realized, like, oh man, I'm too much focused on myself, right? Like how I sound, how I'm doing this. What is the guest saying, right? Is it good for the listener? Is it good for, and in my mind, I try to always keep in mind one listener each interview, right? So I'm not trying to think of like, the thousands, hundreds of thousands of people. I'm just trying to think of that one person who's trying to listen to this right now, right? Kind of a thing. And so with that, I'm thinking more like, okay, like Sean just mentioned, you know, how do I feel about this? Well, some people don't know what the definition of feel means in his mind. So what do you mean by feeling, right? Like, are you talking about what do I think about it or what do I feel about it, right? So then you try to really actively listen in the conversation and not just run through your script. So I feel like podcasting has really, I'm more shocked about that than anything, because it's giving me a lot more, I guess you can say, wisdom, right? Because wisdom is what we learn after we know it all. So I feel like, oh man, I never knew that. I never knew that either. I never knew this, right? From other people's lives and experiences. So, and if I feel that, I hope our listeners feel that too.
You know, just to again, like, honor you. I started a podcast 5 years ago, but I did it with a partner. Like, I wasn't willing to jump off by myself. So when I started this podcast a year ago, I'd already been podcasting for 4 years. So I remember when it was just her and I, with a Yeti in her office, and the reverb was horrible. We could hear the air conditioning. We had to know, because we put it between us, like, oh no, I think you're a little too close, or I'm too close, because it wasn't sounding, even.
Yeah.
And oh my gosh, all the stalls, and then re-listening, like you said, the insecurity of I'm not where I want to be yet. And I realize, almost like the gap in the gain methodology of, if you actually have excellent taste as a skill of yours, then it's really hard to start something, because your benchmark, your bar of what you're shooting for, what excellence is.
Hmm.
But then when you start, you realize I'm nowhere close to that. And I remember for years, I'd watch like Brendan Bouchard, or some of these, like Dan Kennedy back in 2008, these online educators. And I'm like, man, I really want to do some sort of online teaching and educational stuff. And then all of a sudden I would record something, with a white backdrop or this lighting or that. And I'd play it back and I'd be like, I'm hopeless. Like, there's no way I can let the world see that, because I was so far off. The delta between what I thought was minimum acceptable product in the market and where I was at, was such a huge gap, and I didn't know
Yeah.
how to close it. So, man, like that, like, you have courses out there, you're going for it, you're in the market, you're kind of living the dream. Um, I'm so curious about how you even navigated decision points, because that's what I'm saying. I'm guessing, like, with the podcasting, like, you kind of stumble into it and you realize, wow, like, this is a gift of yours. And I think, like you were saying, from your mom, you may not felt like she modeled, but it sounds like she had really high EQ and
Yeah.
really high relational maturity, emotional intelligence. And it seems like that's probably one of the greatest gifts that you have, that you can bring to the podcast world, is that ability to see other people, to listen, to kind of read between the lines, in that nuanced sort of way, and really connect with people. Because that's what I see when I listen to your episodes. You have this uncanny ability to just make people feel at ease, because other people aren't podcasters. So when they get on camera sometimes and they have to speak, it's not automatic that they're going to be able to rest into who they are. And I feel like you provide such a safe place for them to do that.
Mhm. I appreciate that, man. I never thought about it that way. I would say my mom did have, like, she does, has an extreme amount of empathy, right? Which I don't have. Like, I didn't have growing up. So, like, every day I'm like, man, what my mom tell me this, right? Kind of a thing. But I guess, like, after a while, after recording, we've done probably well over 1,000 episodes. But, like, after recording a couple, right, like 100, I stopped. I stopped after like the 10th episode listening to myself, because I was just like, if I keep doing this, I'm going to quit. But after like 100 or 200, I would listen to one, right? Because I love the guests, or whatever, right? Or I just listen to the ones where, like, which is a lot of them, but like where the guest is really fantastic. Or, I wanted to hear the editors would tell me, like, hey, listen to how you're saying this, right? And it made me think, like, okay, there's a lot that goes into when I have to speak, or when the host has to speak, right? Good questions, right? So you have to have better questions and far fewer answers than most, right? So keep that in mind. Have good questions, tone of voice, right? At the same time, tone can be everything, right? And then one thing that's helped me just in life in general is learning how to be okay with silence, right? Just sitting with them for a moment, whether they're crying on the podcast, whether they're thinking, whether they're like, oh man, I don't know what to say, man. You stumped me, or something like that, right? But just letting them collect their thoughts and sit there. Editors can edit out if it's like a 2 minute lag, right? But if it's not a 2 minute lag, it's good for letting them to just be there in silence. But it's also good for me to be comfortable in that silence as well. Both of us to be comfortable in that silence, because a lot of the times, if you hear like dead air, you're kind of like, okay, and you try to get in there real quick, right? But I feel like that has taught me a lot, just to be there in silence, and then things will come up. Things will come up that they probably need to talk about or want to talk about, because they're either going to talk about it or act about it, right? And if they act it out, I mean, it's never going to magically disappear if they have an issue they want to get off their chest, right? Sometimes that happens on the podcast. So they'll either act it out, But if they're able to talk about it there, they realize things that they never realized, right? And it's interesting. And I like that. I like that a lot.
So, what do you think has surprised you the most in those 1,000 episodes?
Um, Man, I don't know. There's a lot of things that surprised me the most, but I've come to realize. I mean, sometimes you just meet me, right? Like we'll just meet each other right now. For example, I'll just meet you right now, and maybe I'm talking about my parents or something, and then I just start crying, and then you're like, "Oh, have they passed? No, they haven't passed. Why are you crying?" And so the person's starting to realize like there's something there that maybe I should calm my right or something. So you kind of start realizing, and this is scientifically proven, Sean, 70% of crucial conversations happens in your head, not what comes out of your mouth. So when it starts coming out of their mouth and they're speaking about it, whether they're super stressed, because some of the questions I asked, like, since the moment of your startup to today, what's been the biggest failure or struggle you've had to endure, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, like they would either say, right, like, oh, it's a divorce that I went through throughout the process, or it's, construction delays, all these things. But once they start thinking about it, they're like, man, it's the feeling of mom guilt. Is it ever going to get better? Like I have 3 kids growing up without me, and one of them called the nanny mom the other day, and I'm just coming home and I'm like, "Are you serious?" Kind of a thing, and you kind of feel that with them, right? You're like, and then you can understand at the same time, and sometimes it's okay to not understand but still have that empathy, right? To be like, I'm not a mom. I don't know what you're going through, but I can kind of try to not to relate but understand. And so there's a lot of things, I guess, you know what I mean, that you can break apart from that.
So, Michael, I was going to say, like, you know, dentists, they have something that they're very comfortable with, right? It's clinical dentistry. It's in the op. It's being chairside, and yet, I believe a lot of dental professionals still get some other stirring or some passion in their heart of like, there's something else that checks the box on fulfillment outside of clinical dentistry. And that's where, between the lines of what I'm talking to, my guests about, I'm always fascinated about the stories, um, again, where people give themselves permission to pursue something, even though there's no guarantee, even though there's a lack of certainty. Maybe it's going to fail. And yet I feel like, oftentimes a dentist, because they're so respected already with success as a certain role, I'm a dentist, that there's a little bit more of a fear sometimes of like, well, don't I have a lot to lose if all of a sudden I start in the marketplace doing something and people see that I'm starting as a beginner again, or I'm starting in an area where I'm not really confident or comfortable. Um, it seems like you started a lot of things, like, just going into, marketing and talking to dentists and being like, yeah, I can do that. And then all of a sudden, yeah, I can create a course. Why not? Why can't I be an educator? Why can't I be a learning resource on this site? And why can't I podcast? What would you say to someone that maybe has a stirring or a dream, and yet they're not so sure about, like, is it the right timing, or are they qualified enough, or are they capable enough? Because it sounds like you've had the voices just like normal people. You're human, and yet you found a way to either silence them or ignore them so that you can pursue your dreams.
Man, I don't know. To be honest with you, that's a good question. I wouldn't say I've silenced anything. I just kind of some. So you know how some people say like, "Man, you're risky," right? Oh, that's pretty risky. Oh, Sean's a risk taker. I think we're all risky, or we do, you know, we take risks. We just have different levels of risks, right? So when it comes to like, okay, maybe I do want to do all of this and create this and do all that. Do you have the resources? If not, can you find the resources, whether that's money or information, all these things, and then you can do it. If you have all the resources and you're still thinking about it, then now's not the right time. You should have done it yesterday, right? You should have been doing this. There's stuff everybody knows right now that someone will pay $10,000 for. Someone, right? And it just takes time. And a lot of the times, Sean, like we don't give ourselves that. We don't give ourselves time to think, right? To just sit down and think and start meditating and realizing like, okay, what do I know? Man, I learned how to podcast, right? Or like Sean, right? What's one of the companies you know or that you've started?
Zana, my
Zana,
electric
right?
toothbrush company.
What's one of the companies that you've started that's probably failed in the
Roots.
past? Which one?
Roots cause it was a manual toothbrush. It was almost like the Tom shoes of dental,
Okay.
and it totally failed.
Okay. So you can create something that says how to not fail your first business, right? And you can even niche down how to not fail your first product business, right? And niche down even more than that, how to not fail your first oral product business, right? Kind of a thing. And people will want to know like, okay, yeah, you've done this right. They want to know all the things you've done right. But more importantly, this is how we're wired. When you go on Yelp or you go on to Google and you see 1,000 5-star or 4.8 reviews, right? Are you just going to look at the first reviews or are you kind of looking for that one negative star and you're like, what happened there? What happened there? Right? Same thing. People are looking for that struggle point and being like, what happened? I relate to that. I know that pain point. What's the solution? Then you provide the solution, right? All of us have gone through that. All of us have that. It can be anything from like, I tailored my pants wrong and they continue to come out wrong. I figured out the issue. This is it, right? Kind of a thing. So take time, sit down, think, really think about what you want to do. If you already know what you want to do, perfect. Start it already. If you have the information and the resources, count the cost. If you feel like you don't, get that stuff, right? And once you get it, then you can kind of continue to do it and hold yourself accountable. Have personal accountability, man. That's like huge. We can not change anybody else or anything, only ourselves, right? So if we do that, hold yourself accountable, be consistent, discipline your thoughts, right? Don't look to blame other people as a scapegoat or anything like that. Just continue to understand, like, man, I should have started this yesterday, and then move forward from there.
So, in your entrepreneurial journey, what do you think is probably one of the struggles that, I don't know, maybe was the most challenging for you to overcome?
Oh man, so many. Like, I've had bad partners. I've grown too fast for my own good. I've grown too slow because I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how to leverage.
I'm like,
Um,
check, check.
yeah, yeah. There's so many things, right? Like I thought I was ready to hire people. I wasn't. I thought I was ready for expansion. I wasn't, right? There's so many things like we don't know, right? Like I said, wisdom is after you know it all, right? So I feel like man, I struggle too much. Like there's life is that's what it is, right? A struggle. You're just kind of struggling. But you can see it that way, or you can kind of see it like, lessons learned, lessons learned. Okay, lessons learned. I know what to fix next time, and not make those mistakes. So, and that's what I think how you'll be joyful if you find the lessons learned in them. Because if not, all you're looking for is just happy moments. Happy moment here, happy moment there, happy moment there, and you're just going through seasons, right? But if you know like these are lessons learned, it was an expensive lesson, but it was a lesson learned. You can continue to have joy throughout that process. So yeah, man. I mean, there's too many things to where I struggled. Yeah.
I feel like you have this uncanny ability to really come up with, I don't know, just clear takeaways or like, I don't know, just points of wisdom that I'm guessing have been hard fought, which is why they're so succinct and why they're so I would say poignant because you've learned, you've struggled, you've actually engaged with life in such a real way that it's clear to you when you kind of see this golden nugget and you're going to cherish it, and you've been so generous about sharing them. And as I'm hearing them, like I love learning, I love reading, I love exploring, and you're saying them, and it's like, wow, the wisdom that you've distilled in some of the phrases you've shared with me is so rich, like it's so deep and profound, and yet you've distilled it into something so simple as like I don't know what you were saying about like focusing your thoughts or having discipline over just your thoughts early
Mhm.
on when you were going out there. And just what you even said, the whole Mel Robbins thing was just like mind blowing of the 5 second rule. It
It's good. That's a
has,
good book. Yeah, it's a really good book.
has someone ever told me that I overthink? Yes. Michael, so people are listening and they're like, wow, I doubt someone's like, I've never heard of the dental marketer. But if right now they're listening and they want to find out more about your podcast, or they want to find out more about how they can hire you or learn more about your course for ground marketing, where do you want their eyeballs to go?
Yeah, if you just want to go, I mean, wherever anybody listens to the podcast, they can just type in the dental marketer and you can find us there. If you just want to Google ground marketing, you'll find us there, right? We're the only ones kind of talking about it, or the masters at it. But other than that, I mean, you can go to the dental marketer, so thedentalmarketer.org, and then you can find all our information on there. The ground marketing course is on there too, as well. Yeah, and the podcast.
So, Michael, last question. I think, are you ready for it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So here you are today, and you're walking down the street, and off in the distance, you see 18-year-old Michael. And you only have one brief moment to communicate a sentiment to him. What do you share?
One brief moment. This is going to be so not what people are expecting, but I'm probably going to look at him and be like, dude, you're going to love your wife. You're going to love her like crazy. And that's it. That's it. Yeah.
I've asked like I don't know, close to 100 people that question, and no one has taken it in that direction. That is massively original. I love that, and I think you're a really smart man, because chances are good that she'll listen to this and she'll know that you are just in love with her.
Uh, yeah. Believe it or not, she doesn't listen to any of the podcasts like that I have or anything. She's just like, can I come in? And I'm like, yeah,
Same,
dude.
same. My wife, I don't think she's listened to any of them. Like it's yeah, it's just funny. It's like what we become known for. Our spouses are kind of like, kind of
Yeah.
indifferent. Like, it doesn't impress them.
She doesn't, she just, yeah, she doesn't care. She's just like, okay, cool. That's cool. Did you have a good day? Kind of a thing, right? So I was like, yeah, I did. But yeah, that's probably what I say. Yeah.
Michael, I just want to say thank you. I've really had an admiration for you. Just kind of an awe, being like, you know what, here's this guy, and he's been this forerunner, and he's been so consistent, and yet at the same exact time, getting to meet you and discover just how generous you are. Just such generosity of spirit, you walk in such humility, and yet you're so open to just inspiring, empowering, and just helping out. And I love the difference that you're making in dentistry. 100%. Just I'm in your corner. I'm a massive fan, and I just want to say, like, thank you so much for letting me interview you today.
No, I appreciate it, man. Thank you for all those words. I really do appreciate it, man. And I look forward to continue collaborating with you, man.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael.